Part 1.
Well, we run two business courses here, the BA and the MBA. Which course were you interested in?
First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 3.
Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 3.
Hi.
Good morning. Can I help you?
Yes, I'd like to enrol in your business course.
Well, we run two business courses here, the BA and the MBA. Which course were you interested in?
I don't have a degree, so I won't be able to study the MBA.
That's right. Okay, if you'd like to give me some details, I'll complete an application form and someone from the business department will contact you directly. First, what's your name?
Jane Kinsella.
Kinsella. Could you spell that for me?
It's Kinsella.
Okay, and how old are you, Jane?
Well, my date of birth is the 4th of August 1982.
Good, thanks. Can you tell me where you're from?
I'm from Britain.
And where do you live now?
Number 32 Mach Road, Auckland.
Can you spell your road name for me?
Yes, it's Maich.
Right, thank you.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 4 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 4 to 10.
Thank you. Do you have a contact number?
Only a mobile. It's 021 455 7326.
And what are you doing now?
Well, I was working in a shop until 2 weeks ago, but at the moment I'm not doing anything.
Good. Now, if we can move on to your education. Do you have any qualifications?
As I said, I don't have a degree, but I do have 4 A levels.
I'll write that down. So your ideal choice is to study the BA in Business Studies, is that right?
Yes, that's right. If I can't enrol in that course, I'll wait until the next intake.
Okay, so no second choice of study. Tell me, why do you want to study the BA in Business?
Well, I'm very interested in becoming self-employed at some time in the future, but I need some experience in a larger company first, and they won't accept people without a BA.
And how will you pay for the course?
I'll use my savings for most of the course, and if I have any problems, I'll take a part-time job, but I hope I won't have to.
That's fine. I'll just write savings. And now a final question. Do you mind if I ask you why you want to study here?
Not at all. Your course was actually recommended by a friend. He's in his second year now, but he thinks it's very good.
Okay, that's great. I'll hand your application to the admissions office and they'll contact you from there.
Thanks very much. Bye.
That is the end of Part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to Part 2. Part 2.
Listen to a man talking to a group of people at a weekend work conference in a hotel.
First, look at questions 11 to 14. Listen carefully.
And answer questions 11 to 14.
Okay, can everyone listen again now, please? Now you know how much of the weekend will be work and what some of the meetings and sessions are about, I'd like to tell you something about how you can spend some of the free time you have over the weekend, both inside the hotel and outside in the town centre. As I've said, you'll be free from around 5 today and on Saturday and from lunchtime on Sunday, and there's plenty to do. This is the first time we've had the conference at the Royal Spa Hotel, and I'm sure you'll agree it's a very nice place. Really, there's no need to leave the hotel at all if you don't want to, but I'm sure some of you will want to get out for a change of environment. Okay, first, restaurants and bars. I'm sure you all saw that there was a bar near the entrance as you came into the hotel, but there are actually 2 more bars. One is also on the ground floor, behind the main restaurant, and the other is on the top floor. That one has a very nice terrace where you can sit outside and enjoy the view. That bar is for hotel guests only and is usually a bit quieter. As I say, the main restaurant is on the ground floor. We will have breakfast and lunch there, so you'll get to know it well. There is also a smaller restaurant for coffee, sandwiches and snacks on the 3rd floor, and that is also only for hotel guests. There is a gym and health club in the basement. The gym has a good range of equipment and is open from 7 a.m. I know some of you were talking about a swimming pool, but unfortunately there is no swimming pool. I will tell you where there is a pool close to the hotel in a moment.
Before the broadcast continues, look at questions 15 to 20. You will now listen to the second part of the talk.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 15 to 20.
Now, I hope to see some of you around the hotel over the weekend, but I'm sure you will want to get out and see the town at some point. If you'd like to look at the map on the screen, I'll show the area around the hotel. There is a map of the town centre in your welcome pack too. Okay, you can see the hotel here, in the middle of the map, and the main entrance here at the top, in Carlisle Street. Okay, that swimming pool I promised to tell you about is here, in Cromwell Road. If you turn right out of the hotel, it's about 10 minutes up the road in the 3rd Street on the left. It's open until 7 p.m. and until 5 on Sunday. There's a very nice park here to the north, again about 10 minutes away. In the middle of the park is a boating lake, so if the weather's good on Sunday, it might be a nice way to relax. If you want to see a movie this evening or on Saturday night, the cinema is here, in the High Street. Come out of the hotel and turn left. The High Street is only 3 minutes away. The cinema is here at the top of the street, next to a fairly large car park. Now, restaurants. There is a good Chinese restaurant in the middle of the High Street, here on the right. It's directly opposite the town hall. It's called the White Orchid. Another very nice restaurant is Leonardo's. It does Spanish and Mexican food. It's here, at the bottom of the High Street. So, turn left at the end of Carlisle Street, walk down for 5 minutes, and you'll see it on the other side of the road. I went to Leonardo's last time I was here, so I can recommend it. Now, if anyone wants to see some live music, there is always a jazz band playing at the Pink Coconut. Yeah, that's right, the Pink Coconut. That's here, in a little street behind the hotel. The street name is not on the map, but it's easy to find. Turn right out of the main entrance, and then take the first right to go back round to the back of the hotel. So, I think that's everything. Please ask me if you have anything else.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3. Part 3.
You will hear a dialogue between two students, David and Jim.
First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, David. I'm glad I found you. I've got a topic for our presentation next month.
What is it?
I thought it would be a good idea to talk about glass and how it's recycled.
That doesn't sound very interesting.
That's what I thought, but it is. Did you know that glass has been around since as early as 4000 BC, when glass was used in the Middle East as a glaze to decorate beads?
Is it really that old?
Yes, and by 1550 BC, coloured glass vessels were widespread and used for cooking and drinking. The earliest known clear glass is a vase found in Nineveh in Assyria, dated from around 800 BC, which is now in the British Museum here in London.
You know, I think I've seen that. I was at the British Museum a couple of months ago with Lisa.
We don't realise how valuable glass was. It wasn't used widely back then. Until the 18th and 19th centuries, glass was very expensive and was used for limited applications, such as stained glass windows for churches. Large-scale glass manufacturing began with the Industrial Revolution, with the mass production of glass containers beginning at the onset of the 20th century, and glass light bulb production automated in 1926.
How expensive?
I don't know. But nowadays glass is much less expensive and is taken for granted as a packaging material, in addition to its use in windows and other applications.
Do you know what glass is made from?
New glass is made from a mixture of 4 main ingredients: sand, soda ash, limestone and other additives. These additives include iron for colour, brown or green, chromium and cobalt for colour, green and blue respectively, lead to alter the refractive index, alumina for durability, and boron to improve the thermal options. Annually, total glass use in the UK is estimated at around 3.6 million tonnes.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
You're kidding. That's phenomenal. What do we do with all that glass? Where does it go?
Using present technology, the UK glass industry has the capacity to recycle over 1 million tonnes of glass each year. And this, coupled with the material's unique ability to be infinitely recycled without compromising its quality, creates a compelling case for the recycling of glass. Despite this, glass makes up around 7% of the average household dustbin, and last year over 2.5 million tonnes of this material was landfill.
How can glass be recycled?
It can be recycled indefinitely as part of a simple but hugely beneficial process, as its structure does not deteriorate when reprocessed. In the case of bottles and jars, up to 80% of the total mixture can be made from reclaimed scrap glass, called cullet.
What's it called?
Cullet. C-U-L-L-E-T. Cullet from a factory has a known composition and is recognised as domestic cullet. From bottle banks it is known as foreign, and its actual properties will not be known. Recycling 2 bottles saves enough energy to boil water for 5 cups of tea.
You know, I wouldn't mind a cuppa now.
Did you know that recycling reduces the demand for raw materials? There is no shortage of the materials used, but they do have to be quarried from our landscape, so from this point of view, there are environmental advantages to recovering and recycling glass. For every tonne of recycled glass used, 1.2 tonnes of raw materials are preserved. Recycling also reduces the amount of waste glass which needs to be used as landfill.
I know. It's a social conscience we all need to have.
Taking part in recycling the waste we produce makes us think about the effects we are having on our environment and enables us to contribute towards a greater level of sustainability. It's not all about economics, you know.
I'm sure you're right, Jim.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4.
Listen to the continuation of the lecture about the human brain. Look at the diagram before you listen.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
OK, we have looked at the top view of the brain and seen how it is divided into lobes. Now we are going to look at a more complex diagram of the centre of the brain. I will briefly go through some of the important parts that make up the brain and then talk more about what each does. First of all, you can see that by far the largest part of the brain is the cerebrum, and it is made up of the 3 lobes we have already talked about. The lobe below, coloured yellow on the diagram here, is the cerebellum. Right in the centre of the brain here is the thalamus. The hypothalamus is part of it, but it has a slightly different function. Now here, running down from the centre of the brain, is the brain stem. It is made up of the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata, and is connected to the spinal cord, which you can see here at the bottom of the diagram. Now, finally, this little gland just to the left of the midbrain, it looks like a little tail, is the pituitary gland. OK, let's go back and say something about the function of the various parts of the brain. The cerebrum, the largest part, as we have said, has two halves or hemispheres. I will talk more about the difference between the two hemispheres later. The cerebrum is the part of the brain that is really our intelligence. It controls voluntary movement, that is, movement that we are in control of, speaking, for example. But it is also responsible for our emotional thinking and memory. The cerebellum is responsible for fine movement and coordination. It helps us with balance, for example, and to understand where we are in relation to space around us. The thalamus, here in the center, processes what we feel with our body, touch and temperature, for example, and controls how we react to those senses. The hypothalamus has a similar function, but regulates bodily needs, such as hunger and thirst, and tells us when we need sleep. Now, at the top of the brainstem is the midbrain. This is a sort of switchboard, a very complex switchboard. It sends messages which help the brain communicate with other parts of the nervous system. The pons, in the middle of the brainstem here, sends messages from the cerebrum to the cerebellum and spinal cord. The medulla oblongata is here just above the spinal cord. It regulates essential bodily functions, like breathing and the rate of our heartbeat. The spinal cord is part of the central nervous system and runs down inside the spinal column. It connects the brain to nerves that go to the rest of the body. Now, the pituitary gland, this little gland, has a hugely important function. It releases hormones to the body that regulate all sorts of things. How quickly we grow, and the size we grow to, the rate at which we age. It also regulates whether we have a slow or fast metabolism and how we relate to stress. Now I am going to show you a model of the human brain, and I want you to identify.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.